So welcome to panel plenary 7, Reimagining Education. What should 21st century education be about? Not to put any pressure on our panelists, but this is the most important panel for these 2 days. We've been talking a lot about, well, recent, just now, data. We've been talking about reimagining energy. Yesterday we talked about AI, rural education, a lot of things in the future that are quite inspiring, quite exciting, but also really overwhelming. I was thinking about this panel before going up. I have 2 kids, both in college, and apart from now wondering how I get my daughter into data science. The real, I think one real issue for children and the people for whom we are discussing this is how do we not overwhelm them with data? How do they not drown, not just in data, but in knowledge, or even for that matter, all of these fantastic visions that are being shared. It's a fantastic time for the next generation. Dr. Harish has given up on our generation, but it's a good thing that this is a forward-looking panel. And I think it's interesting that we start off with a question of not anymore what does education look like. I think we all have a sense of that. I tell my son when he asks me a math question, go to Khan Academy, and Dr. Khan will take care of everything. And I think we all have that experience. We all have seen how technology, how even access has changed a lot. Even policy has changed. And so, in a way, we already know what technology looks like, what it will continue to look like, how it will continue to change. But I think it was quite instructive that the question is, what is the content? What should 21st century education be about? And for that, we will start with, as just another quick introduction, we will go in this order. We will start with Derrick Latreille. That's right. Derrick Latreille. And then we will go to Chito, Salazar, and then Mechai, Viravaidya. Okay. We'll start with Derrick. Derrick, you came from everybody will get 5 to 8 minutes for their opening statements and presentations or sharings, however you want to characterize it. But you came from the corporate sector, you came from the tech sector. Just to start things off, why are you in education now? For that matter, why is Ayala in education?
So hi everybody, I'm Derrick. Ayala's in education because about 5-6 years ago, maybe a little more, I started to think about moving into some of these sectors that are really going to be meaningful and are getting a lot of discussion. Health, education, and energy were all new areas for Ayala just 5-6 years ago. And in order to help build the nation, in order to be involved in the very stuff that we're talking about this yesterday and today. So, in 2010, I started to talk with Fred about working on education and something we could do to come in here and help change education in the country. If you wonder why I went into education, it's probably because when I was in 3rd grade, my teachers told my parents I wasn't very smart. And so I probably had this deep subconscious issue about being not very smart.
Despite not being smart?
Yeah. I was partially dyslexic, and I am partially dyslexic, and my teachers didn't recognize that, so everybody thought I was dumb. And then I overcompensated, I guess. But anyway, on the question of what education should look like for the 21st century, I think that I thought about how to begin this discussion, and most of us have this feeling already that education's not working, right? This room probably all agrees on that. Education's not working. And I thought that the best way to start the answer to this question, to begin it, is to really understand our history in order to understand our future. If you don't understand your history, it's hard to plot your future, right? And so for those who are not aware, I thought I'd share that the education system we have today began in the 18th century. There was a committee of 10, a group called the Committee of 10, that basically invented this. They invented it in the 1700s because they were looking at the Industrial Revolution coming, right? It was the beginning and the middle of the Industrial Revolution that they could foresee. And the truth is, they were very successful. If we look at our education system today, we think badly of it, right? But the fact is, it worked. It worked extremely well for a few hundred years. It caused the United States to be able to double its economy every 20 years for 100 years. That education system fed the Industrial Revolution. If those 10 men were alive today, they wouldn't invent the same education system that they invented then. They invented one that was designed to serve the early Industrial Revolution. We need to invent one that's designed to serve what's next. It's really quite simple. And all they did was they looked at where's this Industrial Revolution going, and they looked at farmers who needed to move into industry and how to move them. They built a system. Our system today, we kind of are in denial about this, but it's designed to identify where you belong in a ladder. Do you belong on the manufacturing floor? Do you belong as a manufacturing supervisor? Do you belong running the manufacturing plant? Or are you the child of a capitalist, and are you going to own this thing, right? And it was designed to sort you out and educate you for your role in the Industrial Revolution. So if we just simply look at the future, where we're moving past the Industrial Revolution, where we're moving into this future economy, I think we can design an education system around that. And if you look at what neuroscience and what cognitive psychology have identified today about how humans learn, it syncs up perfectly with where our economy is going. So those two things can be guideposts to us. What does neuroscience and cognitive psychology tell us about how humans learn and what they need to learn, and what is needed in this AI-charged future economy? We're about to go through another sigmoid shift in our whole economic system. And I just think it's getting our education system ready for that, which fundamentally boils down to exercising intelligence, developing thinking, and building skill. That has to be the curriculum, instead of just reading, writing, arithmetic, learn a lot about biology, learn a lot about chemistry. Those are good things, but we've got to start dealing with more than just a transmission of knowledge that was necessary for the Industrial Revolution.
Chito, did your parents think you were smart? No, Chito, PHINMA, you can answer that, by the way. But PHINMA runs a lot of schools on the tertiary level across the country. What are these forces? What are the analogs for the forces of the Industrial Revolution of centuries past in the 21st century that is forcing your group into rethinks and reforms and new ways of education?
Okay, let me answer that question by beginning with the first question on whether my parents think I was smart. No, I'm just kidding. With the first question about what do I think education should look like today. I think this is what is shaping education today really is the way work is changing. The way the work is structured now is really changing the demands on the way we should be producing our graduates. Work has not just fragmentized, it's moved into a more digital world. Plus, we're not talking anymore about careers or jobs. We're not talking about specific tasks. Now, the difficulty is, if you're designing for the world of work, we have no idea what this world of work will look like in the next 4 to 5 years. Let's just take your example of data science. This is only it only became a big thing, at least in the Philippines. We only became aware of it as a needed competency maybe 4 to 5 years ago. We're not sure what it's going to look like 4 to 5 years hence from now. Because I think what we need to think about is that the world of education today must not be content-driven. Historically, education is content-driven. It is the wise people on the stage, like this, speaking to people on a lower platform, or people who think they're wise, like many of our teachers think they're wise. But content changes so often that we should not be driven by content anymore. We should now be driven by skill and competency. We should not be teaching our kids what to know. We should be teaching them how to know, how to learn, how to continue to think. And a traditional classroom structure or a traditional way schools are set up, as the way Derrick mentioned, is not the way to go. It's not going to work in a lecture system anymore. And we should really think about more competencies than specific knowledge. Now, given that, which goes back to our schools, the danger in that is that as there are new skills and new competencies and new technologies kids need to learn, there's a bigger danger that more and more of our poor get left behind. Just like the computer produced the possibility of a digital divide, these new forms of education will also not be as accessible to the 20 million Filipinos who have to work in a public school system, where you cannot create as much variety or much responsiveness across the nation, where you have to stick with a classroom that's a square and 50 kids sitting in education supply. Creating a system that provides quality tertiary education. For the poor, our price points are only $300 to $600. $600 a year for a college degree, so 4 years, 2,400, which is really low compared to almost anywhere in the world. We have to make sure in this new digital age, in this new world of work, that no one gets left behind, even in education. More importantly, in education, we have to create systems specifically to educate the poor.
Mechai, of course, spoke already yesterday. That's why I thought the applause as I was coming up was for me until I realized that I was walking behind Mechai. You already spoke about rural education and the Mechai Bamboo School. We're talking, inevitably, when we talk about the shape or the content of education in the 21st century, inevitably we talk about technology. But just to add, and maybe just to spur some additional insights from what you already discussed yesterday, from your experience at the Mechai Bamboo School, what's genuinely exciting about technology? But on the other side of it, what is overrated about technology?
Well, firstly, good morning, everyone. I think we should congratulate the organizers for having to be able to produce very identical twins. I don't know whether it was artificial intelligence or what. But here's the answer. What I would like to concentrate on is in basic education, and for people who are below the table, the ones at the top of the table who are fortunate, who have resources, that's one thing. Technology is one thing. I want to concentrate more on the human being. I want a school to produce people who are happy. Don't parents want their children to be happy in their lives? Well, we're not teaching them in school how to be happy, to work towards being happy. That's first one. And the second one is to take things in moderation, to have enough, to know when it's enough, to have in moderation. They've got to learn to respect other people. They have to learn that they have to be honest from a young kid onwards. They have to learn how to share and help other people and respect other people. Those are the key issues I think that education ought to have, ought to supply. Now, there are many, many ways of doing it, but in basic practice. And I've seen the kids, the people who go to the Bamboo School and visit the school and tell me, they notice, one, our students are happy. I'm really delighted to hear that because there's no degree that you can give happiness to at the moment. So the first one is the happiness. The second one is that everyone tells me that they are very polite. When they walk by, they will say "Sawadee" and they will have the Thai gesture of the Y. If you walk past each other 5 times, they will say it 5 times. So they'll do that. And they've learned how to work hard. They work during the holidays. And many companies say, look, when you finish your school, we'll send you to university and you come back and work with us. So those are the things that people can see, and it's not difficult. These kids have all come down from buffalo's backs. They did not come from privileged backgrounds, but they had the opportunity provided by all sorts of people, and they can move ahead. So basically, we want to concentrate on people who are happy, who understand moderation, and very important is that they have to be honest. We have, as I said yesterday, and I'd like to repeat again, we have enough corruption amongst our midst in the world, in our part of the world, that we must be able to concentrate on producing these sorts of kids. And more time should be spent outside the classroom, be more proactive, and rather than try to remember, let them do activities, and going from content-based to competency-based types of activities. And again, I'm not saying technology is not important, but how can we get them to reach that level of technology? And I think I'd like to leave that to my second part, and that is we need new partnerships. We need new players in education. The way we're going is not enough. We're leaving it to the Ministry of Education or the Department of Education, and it's proven inadequate. So I think we also need new players on the block to come in and help change. We don't have that much time to change, and there's going to be more disparity between those who have and those who have not in the long term unless we act that way.
Thank you. So we talked about the importance as well of values. One big topic in the past month, for some reason, it really came up in the global discussion again. The discussion as to whether or not we're dropping the ball on liberal arts, especially in higher education. Chito and Derrick sort of touched on, a demand-driven education. We have to be sensitive to the private sector as it's evolving right now, maybe at best for the next year until they have to pivot again, and until they're disrupted again. But going to that uncertainty, there's also the point of maybe the most important skill and the most important value is just the skill and the value to keep learning and to keep growing. But how do you strike a balance between that? I mean, Derrick, I imagine that Ayala went into education precisely because as a major player in the private sector, they understand the need to match skills, labor, education, and at the same time, we need to future-proof these kids because we never know if they go into data science and then 5 years down the road, AI takes care of all of that anyway. So, how do you balance?
Ooh, okay. So, I think there's a third problem that you didn't mention that's really key in that, and that is that you have these nationalized tests. You have this curriculum from DepEd or JED that says all this stuff has to be covered, right? The way we've solved the problem is that we've taken subjects and placed them into domains. And in those domains, we develop we either exercise intelligence, one of the different forms of intelligence, or we develop a certain kind of thinking. Or at the college level, we may also develop some skill that is for going out to work. Thinking is when we look and we're taking a hard look at artificial intelligence. I think you're foolish not to. If you're in an education business and you're not looking at artificial intelligence, then you're not preparing your kids for the work world they're about to enter. And so we're looking at artificial intelligence and we're saying, what kind of thinking will artificial intelligence do for humans down the road? Artificial intelligence can identify, it can look at a skin cancer and identify whether it's benign or malignant, as well as the best experts, right? So what kind of thinking is involved there? That's a differentiation form of thought. Do we teach children how to differentiate? Yes. Should we teach them how to differentiate a malignant tumor? No, because AI will do that. And so that's a very granular example, but when you look at AI and you look at the different ways it's thinking, what we have to do is we have to teach kids to think so they can understand the thinking that AI is going to do in the future for them and interact with it, and they can think in ways that AI won't think, so they can have a career and they're not put out of a job by AI. And so that thinking has to be deconstructed and placed into those domains, so that we're not only teaching, okay, so we're doing a media literacy class, fine. No offense to the media folks, but who cares? Right? But that's fine to learn about media literacy, but what else are you learning? How are you learning to think, right, during that media literacy class? And there's nothing from DepEd and CHED that stops us from developing thought and a knowledge of media literacy. As long as we place it in domains, then we can dual purpose subjects, to both learn about stuff and also to learn how to think. Because if you laden those domains with problems and projects and cases where certain types of thinking are necessary, and you scaffold those projects and problems and cases, then you can build up that thinking over time.
Chito, this is a question that I've always had in my mind ever since, of course, K-12 was launched in the Philippines as coming from a group that, as we said, runs a lot of tertiary level institutions. Have we overvalued? Have we oversold? Are we overrating a university education given the realities and the demand of the market and where the jobs will be?
No. I think because part of the difficulty is globally, despite the large demand for pure competency, the demand from the students and parents side really is for a college degree. It's a big problem. Even Germany, which is known for its apprenticeship system, they're losing students from the apprenticeship system going into the university because everybody wants a university degree. And I think the challenge is not the demand for university degree. The challenge is how we remake the four-year university degree. I think we have to rethink the way it's done and potentially break it up, not even to a 4-year program, but potentially an 8 to 10-year program, which intersperses skills and micro-credentials and other diplomas in a 4-year, in a track leading to a university degree. I don't think it's losing its importance. It needs to be reshaped and redesigned.
Okay, but for a country like the Philippines, where we need to get a lot of people into the labor force, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, it struck me as that really was one of the basic premises to K-12, not only to synchronize our education system with everybody else, but also to recognize that there's a lot of jobs to be had that will not necessarily require a college degree. I'll throw one particular thing, for example. Everybody talks about coding, and everybody's getting encouraged, and everybody said we should require this for every student from grade school level all the way to college. But it raises a very basic question: is coding even a college level skill in this day and age?
No, coding is not. It should be. I think in many ways it's a basic skill. But we have to correct. K-12 was designed to help our students get. It wasn't to get jobs early, but it wasn't the only design. It was really designed to make sure students, when they graduated from secondary school, were prepared for either a life of work or a life of academics. Basically, prepared to pursue a life with the proper skills. Our difficulty at K-10 graduate was not graduating with the proper skills, either just to survive or to enter the workforce or to enter tertiary. I think it expands options and opportunities of our kids. I think it's too much to say that it was designed to get kids into the workplace. I think that's creating too much of a factory line kind of education system. It was designed to prepare them better for life, whatever life they may choose.
Mechai, and then